What's happening, guys? Today I want to bring you another video, just like yesterday's, which was a Undying deck breakdown. Today I'm going to be talking about Invoke Control. So this is one of my favorite decks as of late. I've been playing it for about 3 to 4 weeks. A few different people have made it pretty popular on the ladder, including Glop NA. He has a solid deck where he's running Diana, and it's just Invoke, mono Targon, and it's super solid. So I took that and I changed a few cards around. I'm not a huge fan of Diana in the deck, so I dropped Diana and I added in A-Soul instead. And we only put 2 A-Souls in, so we still have the Leona package. We still have mostly Targon, but I'm splashing in Shadow Isles for, most importantly, Atrocity, because Atrocity on spell shielded units is massive to go over the top to deal damage to the Nexus for good game finishing techniques. And then I have 1 Ruination as well. So let's dive into the deck. I'll talk a little bit about the matchups. I'll talk a little bit about tech options that you have, other choices you have. And, we'll just kind of maybe play 1 game or so and just see how it goes. And, we'll talk it through. So I appreciate you guys stopping by again for this video. And, as always, make sure to like and leave a comment and all that good stuff. But all right, so let's jump in here. So, a few choices, and this is actually a tech I had just switched out, so I'm going to go back real quick to this. So the deck should look like, originally you have the Lunari Dustbringer at 2, Soldier at 3, Catcher at 3, you got Hush, Pale Cascade, you got the whole Daybreak package, Shield Bearer, Priestess, Leona, you have the Allegiance Mountain Scryer for Invoke, you have the Raven, obviously, you have more Invoke with Star Shaping and Healing. You have 3 Eclipse Dragons, 2 Aurelian Souls, and a Sky's Descent. So you ideally are reducing the cost of this with all your invoked units, your Celestials. And also my splash here for Shadow Isles is 2 Atrocity and 1 Ruination. So you could just run 2 Sky's Descent. It can become a little bit clunky if you aren't invoking the units properly and you're invoking more spells for removal depending on the matchup. Sky's Descent can become a dead card at times, and sometimes you just need to kill the board. Ruination can also, in an emergency situation, say against scouts, where you're not seeing your drops, you could just make sure you have Ruination ready by turn 6 if you really want to save your spell mana. So that's my splash units here. Main point of the deck is, strong early curve. It kind of like plays like a little bit of a mid-range deck here. You can skip some turns if your opponent's not pressuring, but a lot of times you're just kind of playing your Daybreak curve, building up your Leona to get her leveled up. And you're really playing with situations, right? Spacey Sketcher is really good for giving you a lot of different possibilities. A lot of times I go with the 2-cost dog that just lets us draw a card to keep our hand fresh. The Priestess, more Invoke, Mountain Scryer, Invoke, and then you can start playing some of those big invoked units. So you're really just kind of feeling out the situation. And the really cool part about this deck is the flexibility, right? So against certain control matchups, you might be invoking all of the heavy units to try to push damage through. Against mid-range matchups, you might be just invoking some of the healing units or some of the direct removal to get rid of their big targets that you have to drop. It's really fun to be able to have that flexibility and play around with it. On top of that, you get even more flexibility when you drop Raven in or even Eclipse Dragon, because that's a massive, obviously the Daybreak effect is great, and there's 2 ways to play the Eclipse Dragon. It's just for the Daybreak effect into Aurelian Soul on turn 8, because it'll make him cost 2 less, which is huge. But you should also have plenty of other options as well as far as Celestials go. On top of that, one of the best plays of the deck is using the Dustbringer's Dusk Petal here, which makes the next Nightfall unit you play 1 less. Doing that on turn 6 after having played Raven. So you play Raven on 5, on turn 6 you use that to play the Eclipse Dragon on turn 6. So it's a 7/7 with Fury on 6, which is nasty. But it has the added bonus of both getting the Nightfall effect and the Daybreak effect because of Raven having everything being daylight. So it's super, super solid play there. And then after you kind of stabilize that mid-range, your whole point of the, your win condition here, either you can level up Aurelian Soul, get him on board, get big units on board, you can get some of the key Celestial elusive units to push damage through. That's huge. Clear their board if you have to with one of your big spells, and then keep pushing damage through, and ideally Atrocity for the win on a spell shielded unit at some point. You have plenty of answers early. So let's talk about some flex cards. So as far as Shadow Isles goes, we have to keep the count low here because we are running an Allegiance unit, and the Allegiance is very important. This guy not invoking is pretty rough. So you have a couple different options. The champions are okay. You don't really need any of those. But you could add some of the more, flexible cards that can do some things. I like to add some spicy cards when I'm running an Allegiance deck just to add some, kind of surprising shock value type things. The Rekindler actually was on my list of possibilities because it is just going to resummon a strong unit, but there's too many games where we actually might not see our champion, so not the best option. Vengeance is a solid, just get a nice removal option for direct removal. Harrowing is decent if we really felt like we needed to refresh our board if our hand was dying out. Since our hand stays alive so long, it's not super needed. We're running Atrocity, so you could always make the argument for Ladros, but I think we get enough damage through besides that. Then really from there, you can really just look at some of the healing cards. Do we need more healing against certain things? So you could add Withering Will or Grasp of the Undying to try to get that. Again, if you're adding these cards, you need to remove other Shadow Isle cards most likely, because you want to probably stick with a max of 4 to 6 Shadow Isle cards if you're running the Allegiance effect. I'm actually going 3 because of how important this Allegiance effect is to this deck. So I think there is something that you kind of want to stay, like I said, between 4 to 6. I prefer 3. So let's talk about flex cards in Targon here. So you have a ton of options. Like Diana is a straight up option. You could run Diana over Aurelion Soul or a mixture of the two. Personally, haven't felt like she was much needed, and it could just be because I'm not a huge Diana fan or player, so I was not using her, possibly to the best effect. So that could be on me. If you do like Diana, you could always run her. Both of these 2-cost spells are fantastic, right? Burst Speed, Invoke, I 100% could see a slot, and I think there's a couple different flex spots as you go through the deck. And Behold the Infinite 100% could fill that slot. Guiding Touch could fill that slot as just one of the best spells in the game for 2 mana. Burst Speed again. We already have 2 Hush. The Mountain Goat's a solid 2-drop if you need it. There's not a whole lot else. We don't really care about drawing the dragons in particular. You can always make an argument for Bastion if your units are really important, like Leona. So Bastion could 100% see a slot or 2 in here. And then the other main one, I think the other 2 main ones really are Sunburst. If you really want more direct removal, the reason it's not in here is because most of the time we can get a Comet Strike, the 6-cost Obliterate from Celestial package with either the Solari Priestess or the Mountain Scryer. And it's essentially 6 to obliterate something. It's very similar to this card. This does have the added Daybreak effect, but realistically, it kind of overlaps too much there. And the other option here is Infinite Mind Splitter. And it's really about what does this card add to our bad matchups or our good matchups. And the Infinite Mind Splitter helps shut down mid-range decks, kind of later mid-range decks where you can shut down 2 units. But we have enough massive bodies coming out already with the Celestial package that he's not super needed. So he doesn't really push our win condition against bad matchups any further than it already is. He doesn't help our bad matchups. And speaking of matchups, we can discuss matchups now. Discard aggro can be a slight problem in a sense because we do have, we have enough units to go wide to block, but sometimes we will see, we're a little bit later on our curve here. As you can see, it's not super heavy on the early curve. So if we don't see those, they can overwhelm us, and we don't have a ton of board wide removal other than really late cost things. We don't have Withering Wail or something like that. So that's kind of a rough matchup, but also there's been games where you kind of just hit your perfect Daybreak curve and stomp it. Pretty dang good in the scouts. We can get a lot of value out of our early Daybreak stuff and then just kind of coast into the late game. We can do that with a few different matchups. Into things where you need to obliterate something, like the key obliterate matchups, we're pretty good because we do have a lot of obliterate options. So like Soraka Kench, right, they are trying to build up either Kench or their Star Spring to win the game, and we have plenty of access to obliterate. So we have a pretty good matchup there, as well as even Fiora decks. We can just avoid playing our early units and then try to obliterate, Fiora if they're building up. But the problem with that matchup is they can get out of hand once they actually do get a full board going. They have denies for a big removal at the end, so that is a matchup you kind of have to be wary of. Against most other mid-range stuff, we have a totally fair chance. And then the other big one is really against control decks, right? Other ramp decks, things like that. We have Hush, we have Obliterate, so we can take care of some of the big things like Tryndamere and Trundle. We have, a decent amount of pressure early so we could actually ride that wave out. And again, the biggest thing about this whole deck is just the flexibility. It's every matchup I mentioned, we have a shot in everything. It's really all about what you're invoking and how you can utilize what you're invoking as best as possible. I think that's about it. So for mulligans, we really want to just kind of get a nice Leona curve, right? You want the SSLP, which we've talked about before. So you want Soldier, Shield Bearer, Priestess, Leona. You want some of these cards. Spacey Sketcher's a decent keep. Duskbringer's fine to keep. After that, you really don't want anything else. You just want early cost stuff like most decks, but you don't really want to keep Hush or Pale Cascade. Very few matchups you'd care to do that. So some strong units early. Mountain Scryer, if you do have a 1 or 2 drop, Mountain Scryer is a solid keep because he is definitely one of the hardcore cards of the deck here. So he's solid. So this is the deck. So I just call it Invoke with Atrocity. It's Invoke Control. Really the big splash is Atrocity for finishing. So let's run a game. We'll probably just do one today. But we said that yesterday, and we did too. So currently, again, like I said, I'm at 125 LP in ranked. I played one more game in 1, so I'm sitting at 409. You got to be top 700 by Friday morning. So for the first seasonal tournament here. So we are not going to play in ranked. We're just going to play in normal because I am in a healthy position for ranked, so we're going to chill with that. Guys, if you do enjoy the content, please, as always, just leave a like, leave a comment, follow along, subscribe to us, and, we'll keep pumping out content as much as we can. And, we're going to try to do 4 to 5 videos a week. I really appreciate all the feedback we've gotten so far. I've adjusted a few different things. I know we had a little bit of a microphone problem. Hopefully that's fixed this time, and hopefully we can just keep making fun content, so make sure to jump on. So this looks like Targon and Shadow Isle, so it's probably the fearsome build, so we do need some units with 3 attack to block some fearsome things. Ruination isn't going to be the best card, although we could save her then, but turn 6 we kind of just want to be playing some units. So we're going to ditch Ruination, and that's pretty solid as far as starts go. I mean, shield bearers are pretty massive when you go into the fearsome build, so we have an okay hand. So Dusk Petal again is obviously to get a dragon out on turn 6 is solid, but you can also just use it for discard fodder for the Spacey Sketcher and things like that. So yeah, this is a defensive card in my mind most of the time, but here, since I don't have a 3-drop next turn, I have a second shield bearer, I'll play the first one. And, now we have an attack, obviously we'll take that. But still, the 3 attack will help us defend. Obviously they have ways to get us below 3 with the Frenzied Skitterer, but we just want to get as many 3 attack units on the board as possible so we can chump block really wide. And then we have to worry about their big win condition is, right, they send out a bunch of fearsome units, but also they use harrowing to finish the game. So we really don't want them to be able to get to that point. And if they do harrowing to try to finish, we do have a nice answer in Ruination to be able to just cancel that out. So if they're saving mana going into turn 6 and a lot of things have died, we want to kind of eyeball that to just make sure we're not letting them get their win condition down. Alright, so he played Skitterer, lowered both my things, but luckily we did draw, well, not even luckily, we just already have our other one, which is super nice. So here it puts him in a weird position, so he can't even attack, which is great for us. And at this point, we are chilling. We got a decent amount of units here. We will play... now, Leona doesn't do too much, but we'll still play her now to hopefully get her leveled next turn. So she still stuns the Skitterer. This is the best thing to resummon on his board with Harrowing, because it will lower all of our attack, and then he can essentially push damage through. So it getting stunned is actually significant, because we don't want him to be able to block here. So we're saving our Duskbringer because he's not really doing much. He's most likely just going to block a spider at some point. But we can start kind of pushing some damage through. And now, as you see, like, this is a control deck, but it just does play like a little bit of a mid-range Daybreak deck to start, so he's positively trading here, which is kind of whatever. I just have to deal with it. We're 1 away from Leona leveling up, which is great. And we still have 2 fearsome blockers even on the open attack, and then this is always a super solid add here, so I can actually get an additional block. Alright, so we always have to worry about Risen Mist for 4 speed, for burst speed, extra unit, but it costs 4, so he's only at 3, so we're chilling. So again, Shield Bearer is one of the most crazy cards against Fearsome, so we're very, very happy to have 3 of them in this match. He does have a Skitterer, though, so the Skitterer puts us down. We don't have Daybreak anymore, so this actually doesn't help that much. This does hurt. This is going to be a big turn for him to get a lot of damage through. We do have 1 Shock Factor Pale Cascade to be able to get an additional block. But he's going to have a pretty big turn. So he's not sending Callista because he doesn't want, which makes sense. So we're going to have to block here, and then we will Pale Cascade this to go here. So now my question here is, I can block the spider as well, and then Callista will level up. If not, on my turn, we could also not let her level up at the moment. And these should be switched technically, because we want Leona to have 1 extra health, so that was a mistake at first. So yeah, I think we'll not level Callista up just yet, and we'll save that. Alright, so he's took some damage here, but doing alright. Alright, so we have a couple options. We'll probably just Dusk Pedal into the Eclipse Dragon, because that's a massive body to put on the board. Save our stun for defense. So I think we're just going to go for that. Turn 6. So we don't get the Daybreak effect for the stun, but we just want the big body. Normally get 2 solid units. I mean, these are both really solid, so mainly this is just going to be about surviving. So we don't want to level Callista, so we actually don't want to attack. We just want to play defense for now. Don't want to let him level Callista on offense, so we'll play D. And if he wants to work for the level, he can. But we don't want to let him open attack with a big attack here to get us killed. If he wants to work for it with the Glimpse Beyond, that's fine, because we can play additional things to stun certain units. That's a solid draw. Just have another blocker here. Alright, so he played a Spider. That's ephemeral, and might want to try to level. But this will be a nice thing, because this will stun a unit and also give us another 3-attack blocker. So that's very solid. So we're in an interesting position. You know, we have some decent things. We haven't invoked a whole lot this game. We're playing more mid-range style. We don't want to just take 3 damage. The thing's going to die anyway, so we will chump block it here. They don't have any way to rally in this deck, so Callista leveling is insignificant, at least for this turn, which is good. So I think we're actually going to go with Inviolus Rex, or Inviolus Rex, Inviolus Vox, because just a solid unit. And he missed the Stalking Shadows. So that deck, if he just net decked it, that deck does have a slight problem with the number of units it has in it. I've missed quite a bit. Heal is always solid for us, so we definitely want some more healing options here. We have Ruination open. If we're definitely going to attack some this round. We don't have anything that we need to play other than really this. So we'll put this on the board to get some more damage through. But healing is always good, just to put our Nexus a little bit. If he does hit a big Ruinate or a big Harrowing, we always have Ruination to back us up here. Another good thing about having a Spell Shield unit with Ruination in this deck is the ability to just survive with your own units as you Ruinate, which is a super strong effect. So yeah, so what we're seeing here is he wants essentially these Skitterers to die, because when he does play Harrowing, it is going to resummon those Skitterers and lower the attack on my whole board so he can get damage through. But we always have a reaction phase, so we can always do that, which is nice. We got another Eclipse Dragon from Inviolus Vox, which is nice. Or he could just be going straight Myths, but we still have plenty of chump blockers, so we'll just put our bodies in front of it until we can't anymore. If we draw a Ruination, we actually can just win this turn. So that's the whole point of this deck, right? As I was saying, I splash Ruination because we have big units. This deck doesn't run much removal anyway, but a Spell Shield on this is so massive because I can literally now Atrocity, and he needs to have 2 answers for 1 unit to even be able to get around it, which is just disgusting. So yeah, super solid. So we'll put bodies in front, but we're going to go for just the Ruination play. So, I mean, I'm assuming this is a net decked list. They don't have anything to stop this. So we will throw the Ruination there. And we get the win. So if not, I mean, we still had plenty of units that had plenty of attacks. So the fearsome matchup isn't something that we're super worried about as long as we hit a decent curve. As you can see, I mean, we're just kind of playing the mid-range feel with that. This deck, I could play this 15 times for this video, and I'll show you a different version of the deck every time, because Invoke is such a weird mechanic. There, I didn't need to Invoke at all. I just kind of played with what I got. I used both units that the Nightfall of the Eclipse Dragon gave me, so it's kind of like adjusting to what I'm given. And from there, just kind of wrote it out, got the win with the Atrocity. So that's the deck, guys. It's super fun. If you guys have any questions, I am way too active on every form of social media, so you guys comment on the YouTube video, see any of my Reddit posts, follow us on Twitter, anything like that. I will gladly respond, talk to you guys about these decks for endless time. If you guys want to see any other content on here, let us know. Right now, I'm prepping for the seasonal tournament a lot. I'm not posting the exact things I'm bringing because I'm not even sure yet. But I will be, posting tons of decks once new cards drop. I just constantly am crafting different decks, so I'll be posting all different videos about different decks. That'll probably be the primary content. But if you guys want more new player tips, or if you want more Gauntlet or seasonal tournament prep, you let me know and we'll bust it out. But until then, stay fresh.